questo, non immaginavo fosse così sintetico, però anche sintetico grazie all'intro che ti rinnovo, perché hai avuto la sensibilità, hai capito, e non solo hai capito, ma nel tempo addirittura ha moltiplicato la comprensione del progetto e delle possibilità che sarebbero sorte integrando la stessa ricerca. A questo punto direi che possiamo passare la parola a Brendan, a Paul, l'ordine giusto è Paul Brennan, che ci presenta appunto il lavoro che già è stato fatto con Koha e per l'interfacciamento al sistema nazionale francese che si chiama SUDOC. Paul è uno dei fondatori e il CEO di BibLibre, che ha base a Marsiglia.
Hello everybody, I will do my presentation in English. I hope everybody will understand. I could do it in French, probably I don't understand well. And I could try to do it in Italian, but you wouldn't understand it. So, Stefan already presented who I am. I directly skip to the next slide. I will present how Koha and the SUDOC are connected and how it works. So my presentation will first, it should be short, something like 20 minutes. I will first explain how the SUDOC works. I think it's quite different if we compare to SVN Italian network, but it's probably worth discovering how it works. Then I will explain in a few slides how we made the interface into Koha for connecting Koha and the SUDOC. So what does SUDOC mean? SUDOC means, it's an acronym of course, it means Système universitaire de documentation. I think most of you understand, university system for documentation and libraries. It is a national catalogue that is managed by ABES, which is a public-funded organization in France that is responsible for providing tools and services and information to French universities. Being a member of the SUDOC is something that is required to all universities. All French universities are a part of the SUDOC network. I mean all public universities, which means 95% of French universities. In France there are only a few private universities, I think less than 10 probably. But we also have many post-graduation schools that are, most of them are private, a few of them are public. Those who are public must be a part of the SUDOC, and those who are private can be a part of the SUDOC. They have access to the SUDOC if they want to be a part of the network, but some of them are not. The idea behind the SUDOC is to share a common catalog. It is not to share a common ILS. So the idea in a few words is you have a centralized catalog and a local ILS. And the connector between Koha and the SUDOC is how the SUDOC speaks to the Koha as a local ILS. If you ask universities in France, there are maybe 6 or 7 different ILS in more than 150, 120 universities, something like that, around 100 universities, and they use many different ILS. What is absolutely required if you want to use an ILS is that there is a connector with SUDOC. So, in one slide, I try to explain how it works. Here on my right, so your left, you have different members of the SUDOC. They do cataloging in ABES SUDOC centralized catalog. and everything is sent to local ILS, and members are using the local ILS for whatever they do every day. So one step by one step. For cataloging, all members of the SUDOC are using a specific cataloging tool dedicated to SUDOC cataloging. So they don't use at all the local ILS cataloging software. Some of them use it for completely local resources, like entering or cataloging student work. Does it make sense? Student work.
Publications and stuff.
Yeah, not pas des doctorats, not PhD. PhD are published in the SUDOC, but first years of university, when a student does schoolwork, some university puts them in the ILS locally, not in the SUDOC. But all monographies that are published and all published work must be made must be cataloged using the ABS SUDOC software cataloging software. Okay. The name of the software is BibLibre. It's a proprietary software running only on Windows, so it means what it means. When you are a member of the SUDOC network, you must buy this software, plus buy your local ILS, of course. Each library has each library that is a part of the SUDOC has a unique ID that is called RCR in French. I don't know what it stands for. And this RCR is very important because it lets you explain to ABS who you are when you log in BibLibre. So in SUDOC Central Catalog, you say who you are and you get permission for cataloging things in your library. How does it work? First, you search, you have your book in your hand. You have a book, you first search into BibLibre if it already exists. If it already exists, you just have one thing to do, it is to say, I have it. And this is called localization. So you say, I have it. You can put your barcode or other shelving locations information, but most libraries don't put those information into SUDOC. They just say, I have it. Okay? If you don't find the bibliographic record you have in your hand, then you can create it. There are a lot of subtle rules to enable libraries to create a new bibliographic record, and depending on your permissions, the bibliographic record you have created must be validated by someone else. If you are experienced enough, then it can be validated immediately. If you are not experienced enough, then someone else must validate. I don't know exactly completely how it works, but that's the general idea. If you have to create a bibliographic entry, of course, you will enter authors and subjects, etc. And so you will use SUDOC authorities. And if you need to add a new authority, also depending on your permission, you can add one that will be also validated by someone else that has validation, permission, etc., etc. Okay? At the end of the day, you switch off your computer, go back home, and during the night, ABS is computing a lot of things on their servers, and they provide a file to all universities, members of the SUDOC, with all changes that are relevant to a given ID, university or member. And when I say relevant modification, I mean if you have localized yourself for a given bibliographic record and someone updated the bibliographic record, like adding a subject, for example, then you will get the information during the night. You have nothing to do to retrieve it. It is automatic. Of course, you will get a file with your own change. So if you have added yourself to a given bibliographic record, or if you have created a bibliographic record, you will get a file. And at the end, you get 3 files. I will show them in the next slide. With all changes made by other bibliographic or authorities you are using, and all changes you made yourself. Next day you are back home, you are back at work, sorry. And you are back at work and you start working on your local ILS for all your daily work. So you use your local ILS for circulation, sales management, acquisition, etc., and items management. I said at the beginning, it is not required for SUDOC to enter your barcode on WinIBW. You just say, I have it, and next day you will the bibliographic record and a basic item will automatically appear in your local LAS, and you go and update the item to say, okay, now the item has been created, I modify it to add shelving location, barcode, and circulation rules, etc., etc. Okay. So once again, this is something that can be done in WinIBW or in your local ILS, and most libraries do it locally. So how does it work for Koha? The work is made in 3 steps. The step 1 is, so all those 3 steps are made every night. Step 1, the SUDOC sends an email to a specific mailbox we have declared, saying, okay, I have a file for you, library A. The step 2 is Koha that acknowledges the email saying, okay, I'm here and I am ready to receive the file, send them please. The step 3, the SUDOC sends the file to the Koha server and is sent up to 3 files. 1 file containing all bibliographic modification, addition, etc. All second file contains all collection entries that have been modified, etc. And the third file contains all authorities. Okay. Just for funny story, you see that biblio starts with a B, collection starts with a C, authority starts with an A. So they decided to call the biblio file A, the collection file B, and the authority file C. Looks strange, but that's the way they decided to do it. Then the 4th step is to integrate all those files into Koha. So there is a graph. You cannot see the detail, and anyway, it's in French. There is a graph for deciding what to do with each entry of the bibliographic record, of each entry of the authority record, and each entry of collection records. To say, do I know this entry in my local ALS? Yes, no. If I don't know it, then I must check that there is an item for me in this file sent, because sometimes there can be a mistake. So we check that we have to integrate this bibliographic record. If we already know it, then it is a modification. Is it a modification or a deletion or something? What kind of change is it, manage it, etc., etc. And at the end, we update or create new bibliographic record, items, authorities, and in the next morning, you get everything added or updated in your Koha setup. And the library also get an email with a summary of what has been made and what happened. Okay, so the email contains things like we had 85 bibliographic recall, 42 were adding bibliographic recall, 41 were modification of existing bibliographic recall, and 2 were mistakes. Here is a list of problems I discovered. I also integrated the authority recall, this number of recall, everything went well, etc. So you get feedback, and depending on your decision, you can get only a global summary, a quick summary, or a complete log file with a lot of information, record by record, saying what you made. So when we set up the SUDOC interface for Koha, during the first weeks, we usually put the log very high, so the library gets a lot of information, and after a few days or weeks, we feedback less information because we know everything is going smooth and it's okay. One thing that I forgot to add on my slide, and it's a big mistake. Yes, a big mistake. In the Koha connector, you can add rules to protect mark fields. Koha SUDOC works well. We set it up for Unimark, but probably it should work for Mark 21 as well, but we never tried it. When you set up the Koha interface, you can say, this field, I want to protect it. This field, so it means if there is something in my local ILS, then discard what SUDOC provides and keep my local field. You can define a rule saying move a field, so you can move on the fly a field from 60 to 6010, for example, 600 to 610, for example. You can also say remove this field, so even if there is nothing on my local ILS, you can say I don't want to store this field coming from SUDOC, etc., etc. So you can define the rule, and that's why at the beginning of setting up Koha SUDOC interface, the library usually needs some weeks, something like 2 weeks, to be sure that everything is smooth and everything goes well. This interface is live for more than 10 universities supported by us, and probably more, but this is open source, so we cannot know how many exactly libraries are using this connector, this interface. The largest customer we have is Aix-Marseille University, which is 1.5 million items, and the smallest is the École des Mines de Nantes, which is 45,000 items, so much smaller. Now, another thing I have not explained in my presentation is I have explained being a member of the SUDOC. You can also be, not sure of the word, but something like an associate of the SUDOC. It means you still do everything in your ILS, and usually once a year or twice a year, you send all your file to SUDOC, and they just localize you in the SUDOC network. Okay, so you can update and you can be a member of the SUDOC network, an associate of the SUDOC network. So people looking in SUDOC global catalog will know that you have this item, but you don't fully use SUDOC behavior and all the tools provided by SUDOC. Any question?
Yes. Yes. Paul, what about the acquisition workflow?
It's completely outside from SUDOC.
But if you enter a record in the acquisition workflow, you create a record, and how you can manage the catalog in SUDOC?
Using an identifier like ISBN, and or there is SUDOC, which is called PPN. I don't know what it stands for. It's the SUDOC identifier for a given bibliographic record.
Okay.
So, libraries do the acquisition. It creates an entry into Koha, into Koha catalog. Then, when the book arrives, the librarian goes to InADW, create or localize himself, his library for this record, and he copies the PPN into the Koha bibliographic record.
Alright.
So next night, when the record comes back, we know that this PPN is this record. And we will go.
Se ci sono altre domande, per Paul, che ringraziamo, penso che non ci sono effettivamente. Grazie Paul, intanto Gianluca ci saluta.